Hey there, how you doing? Today I'm going to be talking about roll-up vents. If you decide to go for the rolling vents, today I'm going to tell you a little bit why I like to do 2 rows of channel lock and wiggle wire across my side panel here. We got a really brutal windstorm in mid-December, late December, and it totally well, what happened is one of my anti-billowing cords here broke. As you can see, over time they wear out on these joints. Eventually they break, and so you can see here my rope broke somewhere. Actually, you know what, I don't even think it was the rope that broke. It was one of those quick clips that snapped. See right here? So this is what they look like, and you can see how much it was bent. Usually they're straight down like this, but there was so much force it pulled it way up high like this. So what happened is the clip snapped, and then the rope went loose. And when there's no anti-billowing cord, what happens is these roll-up vents will flap like this in the wind. Basically, you can see where I had them clipped in to the plastic. Every single one is ripped, and even the pole itself came apart, so it broke some of the screws that were holding this pole together. So this is what I'm dealing with today. I'm going to repair this pole. I'm going to take off all these black clips, and I got some actual proper clips that you can get. I got mine from Lee Valley Tools. You can also get them from Johnny Seeds if you're in the States. So basically this is what they are. They're these little clips for PVC. They're just like a crescent shape, and they clip on to the pole in the exact same way as this, and that it holds the plastic onto the pole. There's my buddy Bert. Hey buddy, he's helping today. So that's the plan today. I'm gonna get this all fixed back up. It's nice and calm today. Beautiful day to be doing work like this. So you can see on this one how I've got 2 set up, and what this does is prepares you for this kind of situation. Had I only put on one piece of channel lock and wiggle wire, my options would be to take off the whole plastic and replace everything, including the vents. But with 2 sets of channel lock and wiggle wire, it's a little bit more of an expense up front. But what this does is it allows you to make a cut along here the whole way, and now I can just replace the bottom half, which is so much cheaper than buying, like when you're paying for a tunnel, almost 50% of what you're paying for is the plastic. So what I'm doing also to save some money is, like, instead of using actual greenhouse poly, I've just went to the hardware store and I got this vapor barrier. I know it's not UV treated, but I've been using vapor barrier. This is the same dimensions. They're 59 feet by about 10 feet, which is actually perfect for my bed lengths. I use them for low tunnels, and I've been farming now. This is going to my 6th season, and I've still got vapor barrier that's been living outside for this whole time, and it's still usable. So yes, it's not UV treated, but it doesn't break down that quickly. And as you can see, like, even when your billowing cords are working, like, eventually your plastic, especially over the vents, it ages so much faster than up top, because you're constantly going up and down, rolling it. All that wear and tear, you know, causes it to do this kind of thing, right? All I'm going to do is now, to replace this, is make a slit along here. I'm not going to go right up tight, because what I want to do is have enough across here so that when I put in the new piece, it doesn't allow water and moisture to leak in from the top like this. So you can see this was torn a little bit here. That's okay. I'm just going to make a cut a little below that all the way across. Take this right off. I'm going to clip in. See, when I put this up, I actually never installed the bottom channel lock, or the wiggle wire, sorry, into the channel lock. I do have channel lock installed here. It's just not clipped in. I'm going to clip in the new vapor barrier with the new clips, throw in some anti-billowing cord. So there's a few ways of doing this. I've done this in the past where I've drilled in the eye hook into the rail here, the side rail, and the problem with that, what I don't like about that, is it allows moisture to get in here and it leaks and it drips when it rains. And then you get these little pools of mud that kind of make these little flooded areas in the tunnel. I could just throw some like tape or something over that, I guess, to cover that up. But so there's that method with the eye hooks. You've got your quick clips, which are here. Now these are awesome because they're fast to install. There's no leakage, but the problem with these is it's such a fine wire that they actually chew through the anti-billowing cord a lot faster than the eye hooks. These are cheap as chips though. They're like, you know, 50 cents each or something. So what I'm going to do this time is, instead of either of these methods, is I'm just going to peel back some of the wiggle wire from in here. I'm going to tuck the cord through here underneath the channel lock and wiggle wire, and then I'm just going to lock it back in, and hopefully that gets that rope super tight and kind of tucked in there so it's not sliding back and forth, and that's what chews up the rope over time. So without that, hopefully, so you can see how much movement there is here, like all the way from here up it's frayed, and that's just from, you know, when it gets cold and hot, the rope expands and contracts, and there's slack at different times of year. So right now it's winter, it's colder, so everything's tightened up, there's not as much slack. But in the summertime, when everything expands and loosens up, this is going to be moving around a lot more. So I'm going to get going now. As I do this, I'm just going to stop here and there and show you a couple tips for each step to make things a little bit more effective or efficient or whatever. So let's get cracking. So I've got the poly cut. As you can see, I've got enough of a leftover trim here so that I can tuck this under, and then water will flow over and not fall in between these cracks. This is just white wood, it's not treated, so I don't really want this to be constantly exposed to moisture. And it's also going to stop, again, dripping from coming here and creating a trench. The next step is to come through. I'm going to remove all these old clips. I'm going to replace any broken screws I can see, like this one. Then I'm going to reconnect the pole. Then I'm going to put up the, hey Bert, get out of there. Then I'm going to put up the poly, get out of there, come on, good boy. Now, like, these were just 1-inch polyurethane irrigation tubing with the white stripe. White stripe means it's firmer, harder plastic. The blue stripe is more malleable. Yeah, these were a nice interim, but now that I've sourced locally the white clips that are designed for this, I'm gonna switch to those, because hopefully it'll make this job a lot easier and be a more effective means of attaching the plastic. Big part of the reason why the plastic broke off the pole is because these clips don't really, over time you can see how badly they open up. They lose their spring completely, and so you're just basically clipping the pole to the plastic with a screw, which is obviously going to tear. The plastic C-clips that are built for this, they have much more friction and contact with the plastic, which will be better in the long run. So if you haven't used channel lock and wiggle wire before, it's very simple. There's basically your channel, which we've already seen up here, and then you've got your wiggle wire, which is aptly named, and the zigzag pattern here, you just clip this end into the channel and then wiggle these in, and then again with friction this holds the plastic in the channel and keeps it from flying off. So because I'm using this vapor barrier, I've reduced the cost of the plastic massively. These are like $35 per roll. One roll is perfect for a 50-foot caterpillar tunnel. They're about 57 feet, which gives you a little bit of wiggle room on either end. So this is always easier to do with two people. When you work alone, you work alone. That's all there is to it. So as you can see, that just wiggles in like that. We've got the first bit in. Now, just want to keep it so the wiggling will not be stopped. It's that simple, folks. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this actually exposed, because you can see I'm at a pole here, and this pole means when I put my anti-billowing cord up, it's going to zigzag here, and this is where one of my clips blew, so I don't have a clip here right now. So I'm going to leave this open, and then when I put my cord up, I'm going to wrap it through here, and it's going to be what holds the rope in place. Okay, one thing to note here, everybody, before you get going, as you can see, the factory cuts are not even close to straight. I made the mistake of just looking at the top when I got going, and I had about a 6-inch overlap, which is perfect because you want to be able to close this up, right? You're going to need some extra for your wiggle wire to fit in this lock here. But this cut is not straight at all, and I didn't see how close it gets here. It does widen up again at the base, so that's okay. It's going to keep it sealed, and like, I mean, this isn't an airtight structure anyway. It's okay if a little bit gets in, but still, like, that's not ideal. So check your ends before you get going. Make sure that you've got enough to tuck in here along your end, because when you put in your wiggle wire, you lose about 1/2 inch, right? So here it's getting very close. Hey, I've got almost nothing. I've got almost nothing left here, but it'll work. So you can see why it's such an advantage to have 2 sets of channel lock and wiggle wire. I've just got 2 single rows here, and I've just butted them up against one another. You can also get the double. It's like one wide panel with 2 channels, and if you go with that route, you don't even really need the 2x4. You can just use this straight up. All right, so now that I've got that laid out, I'm gonna open up the plastic. Don't make the mistake I did on the far end. They're starting up and going too close. Well, you got lots of extra here, and now I'm gonna have to make a cut here anyway. So again, you want to leave at least 6 inches. You can always cut off more later. I'm just gonna put the pole back on top. So I'm going to use approximately, well, I'm going to use one for about every pole. I'm going to lay these all out. I am only going to use 10 per side. And there's 11 poles, so I'm just going to space this out a little bit more evenly. I'm not measuring or anything here. I'm just winging it, as I always do. For this, different people like to do different things. You'll see a lot of guys, they'll take a screwdriver or something to that effect, and they will put that up against here, against the wood, and then measure that distance. That will be where they fold and make their clip. The thing that you have to consider is how flat your ground is. So my plot here, I've got a little bit of a dip in the middle. So what that means is this wood runs along the ground, so it's going to dip in the same spots. When you roll that up, you're going to end up, if you base your distance from that, you're going to end up with a crooked pole going down, and then you're going to have a dip in the middle of your vent when you're rolling it up and down, which will catch water and do all kinds of funky things. You want your pole to be as straight as possible, so you can either measure, if you got a level ground, you can measure like this and clip. You can either go on the top of that, or you can measure down from something. I'm just going to kind of wing it. I'm going to push it up against here, and then as I go to the middle, I'm going to try and keep the distance between here and here straight. I'm going to kind of be eyeballing this crease right here. That's just how I'm going to do it. You can go however you like. That's the beauty of a free world, people. Anything to make life easy. What I love about these so far is if you make a mistake, it's so easy to take it off and put it back on. When I was doing it before with the black bits, if I made a mistake, I'd have to unscrew it. And if you're putting in these self-tapping screws, it's a real pain in the butt doing them into these holes. So if I can avoid that, I will. Okay, now that I got a basic idea, I'm just gonna cut off this excess. I'm gonna leave a little bit extra in case I want to adjust anything after, but I'm gonna go pretty close. Again, about a 6-inch difference. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a quick test roll and see how it works. Let's see how my line is looking. That's pretty good. That's really darn good, actually. Look at that. A little bit of downward slope that way. You're never gonna get perfect. I mean, some guys do, but I don't. So that's it. That's how I'm gonna leave it. Next thing I'm going to do is, I think actually a big part why it's rolling up like that too is there's so much extra plastic on this end that's bundling up, and that's causing it to roll up unevenly. Because you can see that's pretty straight. Now that I've got it nice, I'm going to actually throw in a little tap screw on each one of these just to hold them, because it will slide. The plastic will slide a little bit, I think. So I'm going to save myself a headache later and just put in a screw now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, these nuts. All right, we're locked in. Okay, so all I've got left is to put in the anti-billowing cord. Now, when you're doing that, here's a little quick tip. For the reasons that got me into this situation in the first place, it's not a great idea to put one long rope all the way across for your anti-billowing cord, because if that one rope fails, the whole thing is going to unwind and you're going to have your vents flapping in the wind. So it's a good idea to do sections and tie them off midway as a kind of check and balance or a security measure, so that if one does happen to break or snap, you're not going to lose everything and have a cascading effect of damage. That's my advice, because again, as you can see, it really does fray very quickly. These rope, this is the rope that I got actually from these tunnels are from Farmer's Friend, no affiliation, and the rope that they give you with this, these tunnels are designed to do the over the whole tunnel tension, kind of zigzag way of keeping the plastic on. Here we have way too much wind. I did that my first season and lost the whole tunnel. It just got absolutely demolished by the wind. It wasn't even funny. It looked like some kind of modern art piece, just the way it was all twisted steel and woo. Anyway, so do it in sections. Give yourself that kind of added peace of mind for those super windy nights and days. So here we go. So whenever you have to cut rope, don't use a knife. Rope should be cut with fire, heat, so it melts and it will not fray. Stuff like that separates the Joes from the pros, folks. So there we have it, folks, from beginning to end. How to set up a vent for your roll-up sides with vapor barrier. This is a 59 foot by 10 foot vapor barrier. It's basically the perfect size. Gives you a little bit of wiggle room on all sides to do all your cuts and all your clips and everything. Never forget your anti-billowing cord. At least 2 sections. I'm gonna go with 2. These are just 50-foot tunnels. If you're doing a 100-foot tunnel, you might want to do 4 sections, because that's a lot of swelling power there. So now what I'm gonna do is just clip in the ends, because it's winter time right now, so I want to keep this as closed in as possible. Also, these little openings like this, that's a nice little spot for wind to get in and catch a grip on these vents. So it's really important. That's actually, you know, I really only have myself to blame because this fall I got lazy and I did not come around and clip in my ends. So when we got those big windstorms, these were just flapping open and shut, and that's where the wind got in, and I think that's surely how this broke in the first place. So I've got these quick clips here on the top that I've salvaged from the first round, and where they snapped, all I did was tie it into the actual channel lock and wiggle wire, and I actually really like that. It's pretty solid. I gave it a good tug, and I don't think that's gonna make it pop. I also did it over here where there wasn't a gap in the lock, and it fits in nicely. And again, you see the force is pulling it down, so it's not going to pop this out, I don't think. It's nice and secure. Time will tell, and if it fails, I'll make a video about that in the future. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you found this at all helpful. It really helps support the channel, support me as a farmer. I'm a farmer first, YouTuber second, so this is just something I do for fun, and I really just hope that people are going to benefit from the few little tips and tricks and experiences that I can pass on from my 5 years of farming. So here we go. My dog wants to go home and have a nap. So yeah, vents, double channel, make it solid, so when things break, it's easy to fix. Okay, cool. Catch you in the next one.